We're live.
Good afternoon. It's March 16th, 2022. This is a bill hearing from the House Judiciary Committee. We have three bills. Each one of them has one witness. We're going to see what we can do to move these along. House Bill 1456 is from the Dorchester County delegation. It is being presented today by Delegate Chris Adams. Delegate Adams, you have 3 minutes. Let's see how much of that time you need.
Let's break a record. House Bill 1456 is a Dorchester County bill related to orphans court salary and expense allowance of orphans court judges. I'm the chair of the Dorchester County delegation. It increases the annual salary and expense allowance of an orphans court judge for Dorchester County pursuant to constitutional requirements. The increase takes effect at the beginning of the next term of office. Asking for your support.
Raises it from the salary of $4,700 to $6,000 and an expense allowance from $800 to $1,000. Does anyone have any deep and insightful questions they'd like to ask Delegate Adams? Oh, seriously. Delegate Williams?
I was just going to ask, so what percentage is that increase of their current salary, Delegate Adams?
If you'll give me a minute, I can get my
about
calculator.
25%. It's about 20%. 20%.
Okay, it's about 20%, the chair says. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Kendall, get ready. That's the next question you have to ask. Get answered.
Anybody have any further questions for Delegate Adams? Seeing none, that concludes the testimony on House Bill 1456. See how that worked? Now, we have staff here from Delegate Anderton's office. Her name is Kendall Crock, is it? Kendall Crock?
Yeah.
She's here to testify on House Bill 1436. Committee be nice. This also has to do with the salary of an orphans court judge. Ms. Crock, why don't you tell us what House Bill 1436 does?
Good afternoon, Chairman Clippinger, members of the committee. I'm here on behalf of Delegate Carl Anderton. My name is Kendall Crock. This is a Wicomico County bill. It's similar to the bill you heard previously. It's raising the orphans court salary $2,100. Pretty simple.
From $9,500 to $11,600 to be an orphans court judge in Wicomico County. Do people have questions for Ms. Crock? Is this the first time you've testified on a bill?
It is. I'm thankful it's over Zoom.
You shouldn't have said that. Now we all have to ask you questions.
No, please don't.
Okay, let's all be nice and we won't ask questions. Or if does anybody have any questions?
You did a great job, Kendall.
Did an excellent job,
Delegate.
Kendall. Well done.
You.
Well done. That concludes the testimony, I think, yes, on House Bill 1436. Let's go now to a bill with Delegate Chanel Branch, who is here right there. This bill, not to do with a relatively small increase in an orphans court salary, a little bit different. This is House Bill 1430, and it deals with the idea of a gun court. So let's hear from Delegate Branch. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chairman Clippinger, Vice Chair, and colleagues of the Judiciary Committee. For the record, I'm Delegate Chanel Branch, and I come to you today to ask for your support for HB 1430. This legislation will require a Chief Judge of Appeals to establish a special court docket in each of the circuit courts to exclusively hear and decide cases alleging the violations of provisions of law related to weapons. It should come to you as no surprise that this legislation is important to me due to my own tragedies. Due to the backlog of the cases that the pandemic has added to the courts, many criminals will continue to be free while awaiting their cases to be heard in court. This legislation would expedite cases relating to guns in the hopes of criminals who have committed these crimes involving guns, getting them off the streets more swiftly. It will also provide a better tracking in such cases. I, along with so many of the other citizens of Baltimore, are crying out for some sort of assistance to reduce the crime in our city and eliminate the heartbreaking of the murders that are happening. Baltimore City Police Department reported in 2021, out of the 338 homicides, 97 were murdered by a gun, and 42.9% of the homicides suspects had prior arrests for gun crimes. We need resolutions, as you know, with the crimes that are being committed with guns, and we really need them now. Today, I do know that this particular legislation may have some opposition, and I'm open to it. I just wanted to be able to start this conversation of us possibly having a gun court. So I'm open. I just want to be able to have the conversation, be able to work with others and trying to get this done. So today I asked for a favorable report for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much, Delegate Branch. Are there questions for Delegate Branch? Delegate Grammer?
Thank you, Delegate Branch. This is actually, this committee's discussed this bill, a similar bill before, and I think it's a really innovative way to deal with this issue. And, I sympathize with you. Eastern Baltimore County is experiencing a lot of the same growth in violent crimes as the city is seeing. How does this apply? Would this be statewide? Would this be just for the city?
It could be for this one was just for the city.
Okay. And what do you think the main benefits if we were to move something like this along, the big difference in the processing of these cases?
Well, the big difference will be we would be able to, I guess, free up some of the court dockets by at least trying the ones who have simple possessions or other cases. I would also like to, I know that the way that this bill is written currently, I know that there's some work that needs to be done. So I would not want a murder trial to be caught up in the court docket of the gun court that we're talking about today. So I just like to deal with the other crimes that are, that are dealing with crimes that does not have other particulars attached to it.
Okay. Well, if it's okay, I'd like to work with you on the bill. So please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, Delegate Branch, it appears that it also leaves out Article 5 of the public safety article where a lot of the possession charges for guns live. So that's not there. And I wondered about, as it's drafted, it is a statewide bill. It's not a Baltimore City bill. But I think what Delegate Branch was saying was that at least her concept was that it could potentially be a pilot in Baltimore City and then go from there. Delegate Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Branch, thanks for bringing the bill. Is there anything that prohibits, whether it be the city or the administrative office of the courts, from doing this already?
I'm not sure. I just know that it's not being done. And that was the idea behind pushing for the legislation, or at least for the conversation to start such a court docket.
So, I mean, for your information or whomever's listening, the Maryland State Bar Association has issues with it because they believe that this infringes on the independence of the judiciary to make a decision on how to allocate resources to create their own dockets and efficiencies in how they handle cases. It would seem to me that if we think that there's an issue with Baltimore City does have an administrative judge in charge of how to relegate resources, and you may be able to, even if it's just sort of to have that conversation, assuming if this bill doesn't pass, you can see if maybe they can start the process along, knowing that there may actually be legislation. They may want to preempt it. You may get the job done without having to go through this all again.
Delegate McComas.
Mr. Chair, I don't have my camera on. Wait a minute. I just want to ask Delegate Branch a couple quick questions. One, basically, let's say it's a murder and they used a gun in the murder. Would that be tried? Do you envision that be tried in this gun court, that at least the gun crime, or that it would be bifurcated between the criminal court and the gun deal would be done away with fairly quickly?
Well, I don't think that this, and like I stated before, that a murder trial or a case involving a murder should be in this particular court. I think that should stay where it is. But I know that there are other crimes, also like robbery or assault or rape that has to do with the gun. I probably would not want those, attached either. That's why I said I'd like to start the conversation and try to figure that part out.
Well, let me ask you. So basically, you would envision issues of like if they stole guns, or if they were trafficking in guns, or if they were making illegal guns. That, in other words, where it's just the gun issue as opposed to any criminal issues surrounding the use of a gun. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing you might want to look at is, I know that the courts have veterans court and drug courts, and I don't know the history of that, if it was legislative setup or if it was the courts. And that might be a good question to ask the library to maybe research that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But I think it's a good idea because when, a lot of times the gun charges get dropped. They just kind of ignore that. So that's good. It's a good bill.
Delegate Shetty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Delegate, for bringing this bill to us. I think it's a really interesting concept, and obviously, I sympathize with you as a mother, and I understand that this is coming from a very deeply personal place. So, thank you for bringing this forward. My question is, I thought that most of these like specialized courts were primarily for like problem solving purposes. So like, I know Prince George's County has a number of really amazing ones that are really intended to like divert people away from specific types of thing. Like drug courts are really about ensuring that people who have a history with drug issues are able to get access to appropriate treatment, right? Veterans courts, similar, lots of like focus on like a wraparound approach to crime. And I'm just wondering if in your view, this is akin to that, because it feels very different. Like to me, this sounds more like we need to try and create this so that you can potentially have an alternate path for these that could be prioritized and more quickly dealt with versus like the more traditional problem solving course. But I just want to understand a little bit more from your perspective, if that's okay.
Yes, so I haven't thought about the wraparound services, although I'd be open to of course trying to remedy the problem that even had them trying to have a gun, whether if it's selling drugs or what have you. But the purposes around this particular legislation, my thinking was that oftentimes people are arrested for just a simple possession, but they're just waiting for months, if not longer, to be able to have their cases heard. And there are people who are repeat offenders. Sometimes they've murdered someone, but they still may have another case, and they're never heard or they're dropped, like Delegate McComas just said. So that was the purpose behind it, trying to expedite some of the cases involving guns and repeat offenders.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, seeing none, we thank you very much. And that concludes the testimony on House Bill 1430. That concludes the testimony for bills today here in the House Judiciary Committee. Subcommittee chair meeting at 3:30, maybe a little bit later, but that's okay. Vote session planning at 4. If anything changes, watch your emails, watch the MGA website. Thank you all very much.